Hi everyone, Vicki Verley here, Rock and Roll Prophetess. We're going to take a look today at this full moon in Scorpio, which is at 11:42 p.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. I'm sure for some of you on May 3rd, but in some cases I'm sure it's going to be May 4th. But here's the chart. As always, I just run it for New York because that's just a blanket, the standard Eastern Standard Time. You always think of New York time. But anyways, here it is. Lots of squares. The other thing that's going on is exact that day is Mercury oppose Saturn. So where is this Saturn? There he is. Saturn at 3 degrees Sagittarius, Mercury at 4 degrees Gemini, and Jupiter square the Sun. Well, Jupiter's squaring the full moon too. It's this big T-square with Jupiter here. And Jupiter's also conjuncting Juno. And I talked a little bit about that last time. It's the king and the queen of the gods in Roman mythology. And it's in the sign of Leo, which is often, this Regulus and all that. It's associated with royalty or, the lion's the king of the jungle, all that kind of stuff. So Leo ties into that royalty thing and the king and the queen. But they're joined together, even though there's a lot of squares and oppositions going on here. Well, let's look at this. The full moon is in Scorpio. So Scorpio is these underlying, bubbling up, festering, deep, dark secrets, these kind of things. So that's going on. And the full moon is bringing enlightenment into that. The full moon is bringing to light these things that are scorpionic or Plutonian. Pluto, ruler of Scorpio, in nature. The god of the underworld, all that stuff. But it is these deep, dark things, So, a lot of us might be getting some kind of big subconscious, awakening, some kind of aha moments of some dark, deep, festering things. Some of us, it could be, because the Mercury and Saturn, that could be like news. Mercury's news. And Saturn, it might be news from a family member. I think in some people you might find out some deep, dark family secret that you never knew. I think that could totally be a thing. Like that somebody was adopted, or somebody, what was I just watching before? Some kind of show, and they were talking about that they had these other wives before, or somebody was married before, you never knew about it. Things like that. The moon is your mother and the feminine, and the father is the Saturn and the father and the men. So it could have come from either side. As always with these things, it's like, look in your own chart. What houses are these hitting in? And that's where the things are going to be revealed, to you. Pluto's at 15, also sextiling the full moon point. So again, it's this, but Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So there's a harmonious aspect to it. But then there's also, again, this Plutonian thing, this deep dark, and the Uranus-Pluto square is still somewhat in orb, 3 degrees. I'd say it probably still is in orb here. So it's a lot of this other stuff. But I'm feeling with the moon, the moon is often more personal. Uranus-Pluto square, these are these big, fleeting changes that are happening in the world a lot of times, and maybe not so much in our personal life, as are the outer planets transits. These are a lot of times the outer planets transits. I just saw my battery just about drop to 0 here. So I don't know, it just jumped. So I'm going to stop for a second and we'll resume with a new battery in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I don't know what's with these batteries. I got 4 of them for this camera, and I don't know. Some of them aren't holding a charge, it seems. But anyway, sorry about the interruption. So I was talking about the moon is often more personal. The moon is your inner self. It's your mother, too. It can be your mother. In your natal chart it is. Or how you perceived your mother. But it's also, your emotions. It's personal. It's one of the personal planets, as they say. The inner planets, they have faster moving planets. As we have Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. I'm not sure if Jupiter is considered a personal planet, but these first 4 for sure are your personal planets. Also, if you're interested in synastry, which is the comparison of your chart with somebody else, those personal planets are more relevant. Just a little side note here. for your personal planets to be captured in someone else's chart is more relevant, because these other things are generational things. Like everybody your age range probably has the same Saturn as you and Uranus, and definitely Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, because it's so slow moving. So these are generational things. These are these bigger, these slower moving planets, the outer planets. These are the planets that are just the bigger overall picture of your life, and it's your generation in your natal chart, and it's bigger world things, where the personal planets, these are more dear to you, more, and especially the moon. The moon is totally the most personal planet there is. So, the full moon, it's probably going to be more stuff where Pluto Uranus was, the bigger picture, the world politics and things like this. It's going to be more your personal life. I'm feeling really strong about family stuff for most people here. With the Saturn and the moon there, the mother and the father. The Saturn is your lineage. The patterns that have been set up through generation and through generations. Over here, Saturn. Yeah, so stuff being revealed, or stuff coming up, or just realizations. Sometimes things fester, and we have our stories. We tell our stories about it. Mercury is a telling of our stories. Mercury is a telling, with Saturn, is the telling of the stories of our lineage and our childhood and our family. And a lot of times with the Saturn involvement, you might feel like it's these harsh stories, the victim stories. How you were done wrong, and how my parents messed me up and they were mean to me, and different things like that. But with this full moon, I feel like we could have some enlightenment about some of those things, because they're just human. Those kind of stories about your parents and stuff, it's just like, oh, they're just human. Once you get older, you realize it's just like, they were just trying to do the best they could. They were just humans like we are, with all our flaws and frailties, and they weren't these wise elders that we might have put them on a pedestal to be, or whatever, or I don't know. There's a lot of different things, but there's a lot of ways that we could have enlightenment, and that's what I'm feeling. Even though it's squares, there is a lot of squares of Jupiter. This T-square going on, the opposition, which in traditional astrology always is. It's going to be rough times. Tough. But I always say you need those to make things happen. As I always said, it's one of my first astrology teachers told me. On a trying day, or you might just have, oh, it's a beautiful day, and it just might pass you right by, and nothing might happen on those kind of transits. But these squares, these oppositions, these make things happen. There could be world events. I'm not ruling that out. And with all this royal energy over here, this Leo and this the Queen and King of the Gods joining together here, totally could be some kind of bigger issue, and something having to do with, I guess, monarchies where they still exist. But we have our kings and queens in America here too. Not officially, but there totally is. There totally is a hierarchy, like the Kennedys, for instance, or even in music and stuff. They called Beyonce Queen Bee. We have these people that we put up on a pedestal, and that would totally be like Jupiter and Leo, I would feel. Because Jupiter is the 5th house of entertainment. Leo is. And that's, rules the 5th house of entertainers, and performers. So it could be something like that happening too. What caught my eye when I opened this chart was this Palace at 29 Sagittarius retrograding. I did want to look that up, but I'm not going to flip through pages on the video. And it's also opposing Venus. So again, I feel like I didn't catch that till just this second, that it's opposing Venus. And that Venus is direct, Palace is retrograde, so they're more. I don't have the ephemeris handy, but they'll more than likely catch each other. It'll be exact, I'm sure. Well, again, the Venus is the love, right? Venus in Gemini, Mercury's in Gemini. So it's like how we think of things, how we think of the people we love, how we think of them, the stories we tell. I want to go back to that. You know, it's the stories. We all have our stories. And a lot of it is victim stories. But with a Pallas, you know, Saturn could be the victim story here. But with Pallas, I would say not the victim story at all. I would say having enlightenment, finding new ways of coping, new ways of understanding. You know, when you have these understandings about these things, it takes the load off. It wasn't like they were trying to be mean to you, for instance. You know, if we have these stories about how, these victim stories about how someone was trying to be mean to us, or trying to hold us back, or screw us over, or silence us with the Mercury, silence our voice, right? And, you know, when we go that way of the Pallas, it's like enlightenment. You know, Pallas Athena, too, the thing I always think about her is the fashioning of the tools, the inventions. So when dealing with emotions, you know, maybe it's like Venus, because Venus is emotions, and Moon is emotions. Maybe it's, you know, new ways of coping, new ways of mentally dealing with things that have been very wounding and very restraining, or holding us back from really being, you know, our ultimate selves, our true selves here. Yeah, Lilith is in here too. Lilith is trining Pluto, and Lilith is also sextiling that that full moon thing. You know, with this, I feel, and in taking into the family and all that, I feel like it's this inner child stuff. And that's kind of older. It was big in the 80s with that guy, I think his name was Ray somebody. He did a lot of, I spent many a Saturday afternoon watching PBS specials with this guy. I can't think of his name right now. Somebody will know it and put it in the comments. But that's it. Now, Lilith always stands up for herself, right? So this could be a lot about soul retrieval, about Lilith. You know, you're Lilith. Now you're Pallas. Now you're Lilith. You're not that little kid anymore. You're not that little victim who has nobody. You know, maybe it's about you know, taking back your power, being empowered. You know, healing those wounded child times, or, you know, that's a lot of the vibe that I get, or that's a lot of the vibe I get with, which would be a positive way to use this energy. You know, there is a grand trine on Earth too. I'm seeing here we've got Lilith, Pluto, and what's the third? They got it as, oh, it's the Sun. Oh, so it's the Sun. I always thought they had it as Mars, because I was going to say, I don't think Mars is quite, it's 10 degrees out. But yeah, totally, the Sun. So we've got a grand trine on Earth. So being grounded, right? Being grounded in the earth, standing on your own 2 feet, being practical, not letting emotions with the moon, or the stories with the Mercury, you know, take over and you know, run away with things. Staying grounded in your truth, staying grounded in your self. Sun in Taurus. Lilith in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn. You know, Lilith and Pluto are both very strong. Well, the Sun is strong too, but Lilith and Pluto are both very strong in their, you know, they have a strong presence, and maybe they're not to be messed with, you know. Because that's almost what I feel like a lot of this is. If this is stuff about your childhood and stuff, you know, this moon, your old wounds from, you know, earlier in life, or your wounded child stuff, you know, this powerful presence is here, like this guardian, or this like, you can't mess with me anymore. I'm stronger than you. Or, and that could be the case with a lot of people. For those of us, like my parents are passed, but if you have elderly parents, and maybe your relationship wasn't good when you were a child, maybe they did bully you or hurt you, or, you know, that generation, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child, whatever, you know, maybe some of that was going on. And now maybe they are older and frail, you know. But, and if that's the case, I mean, you could just some people might say, well, I'll retaliate. I'll yell at you, or I'll treat you the way that I was treated when I was a child. But I would say maybe that's not the thing to do. Yeah, but it's not the thing to do karmically anyway. But beyond that, setting a new precedence. Earth, Taurus, fixed. Planning, fixed signs stay, they put their heels in the ground and stay. They plant their flag and like, this is how it's going to be. And sometimes it can work to their detriment, because they don't want to change and stuff like that. But a lot of times it can be, setting a new precedence. Being strong, being the kind of caretaker or being what you would have wanted them to be. Now you can do that. And it's again related to the healing of the ancestral karma, I would say, which is another thing that's been coming up a lot here lately. Yeah, so, this is powerful. This powerful grand trine on Earth is the way to go. And on a real, mundane level, and again with the gardening and stuff, doing earthy things, Taurus, grounding yourself out in the earth, or going camping or hiking, or, being out in nature. That would all be under the realm of the earth signs. I had another thought on that, and it just went right out of my brain there. I was talking about being grounded in this trine. Or, that's what I was going to say. Or, as you do this, as you are in nature, or you are out gardening, or whatever you're doing, connecting with the earth, you may get the insights. Because sometimes it is. I feel like most of the times when I've had these big moments, it's just been this little, it happens in an instant. And it's just like looking at things from another angle, from another way. And again, with this royalty thing, this could tie into what I was talking about the putting your parents or whoever up on a pedestal, and then they disappointed you or something. And that's part of being human. People, we're not perfect. If you're incarnate on this earth, you're not perfect, okay? You're working on your stuff. So we've got things to work on here, where nobody's perfect. And there's no absolutes in life, too. This is something I was planning on maybe making a separate video about, but this is something I've really been coming into. We live in an expanding universe here, and there's no absolutes ever. Anytime you think you know everything about it, you don't. It's just one more step to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. The ever-expanding universe and the ever-expanding consciousness. Okay? So, these stories that have been set in stone or been told over and over again, whatever these stories might be, I just feel like in a lot of cases it has to do with victimization, but that may not be the thing. It could just be, like I said, some surprise. You find out that your grandmother had another husband before she married your grandfather, or, some kind of crazy thing like that, or somebody who was adopted, or, there could be some kind of skeletons in the closet. I don't know about skeletons. I mean, maybe, but that's not really where I'm going with this. Not like things that you would necessarily be ashamed of, which the skeleton in the closet kind of averts to, but more just things I'm like, wow. I'm feeling more like, these wow, or as Oprah always says, the aha moments. I feel like there could be a lot of aha moments come forth on this full moon. And, deep stuff. Deep stuff within yourselves, too. It may not even involve stuff. Maybe it's deep wounds that you're going to realize have been put there. We have these, sometimes people, these things happen and you don't even remember them. I have a lot of those. I don't. And people say, don't you remember this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, God, I forgot all about that. And, and in the case of where, if it is parental or, these authority figure types of people, it might be, you forget about some of the nice things they did for you. Because it seems like a lot of times we remember the bad things and not the nice things. Because I'm sure there were nice things that they did for you, but we tend to, as the story goes, they ruined my life, they did this, they did that. And the story's not set in stone either. And Gemini is also there's a duality to Gemini. I'm talking with the Mercury and the Saturn, and also the Venus here in Gemini. You know, and we're moving into, even though this full moon is in Scorpio when the sun's in Taurus, it's not, we're going to be in Gemini in no time. And there's a duality kind of a thing. Taurus can be really stubborn, and this is what it is, and this is this. Where Gemini, there's two sides to it, and the Libra North Node is also, there's two sides to it. And that's true. Nobody's all good, nobody's all bad. You know, we paint these characters in that way as we tell our tales, you know, that they were bad. That was the bad guy, and this is the good guy, and it ties into the Joseph Campbell, the hero's tale, and all that stuff too. So, but I think overall enlightenment. If you are caught in the fray here of these squares energy and you're feeling frustrated, because it could go either way. I mean, you could really feel frustrated or anger. You know, the lower vibration of that Scorpio is the stinging Scorpio. If there's a lot of anger coming up, you know, get to this earthy energy. That's the trine, is where the energy is going to be expressed. And so you can have some clarity and have some healing. You know, I feel some healing. Okay, I was a little late getting this up. I know a lot of you are intuitive too. I'm going to throw up somebody else's chart. A dear lifelong friend of mine I found out passed this week. I know nothing. I just know he's gone. I don't know anything. There's been no obituary. I know nothing. I don't know how he died. But he was somebody that was really totally a soulmate. I mean, I met him when I was 13 years old. We were playing music together, and we made music and made love off and on throughout our entire lives practically, and we still were very close friends. He was down in Florida. He passed, nobody knows, I don't even know when he passed, sometime during the week of the 20th. So I've been kind of pretty knocked off of my balance here. I mean, I know I'm spiritual, and a lot of times with death, I know that they pass on, and it's cool and everything, and this one's been kind of a hard pill to swallow for me. But if any of you are intuitive, and I'm not sure about the rising. This is his birth date, May 2nd, 62. Died close to his birth date, too. That happens a lot. I remember him saying, and his ex-mother-in-law was an astrologer, that he always looks at Sag for his mom. So I'm assuming that he knew that he had Sag rising, although so I just kind of manipulated the chart to be a Sag rising, but I'm not sure on this wheel. But this is his chart. One of the things that, his birth chart, and I don't even know what day he died or anything. So if any of you are intuitive or have any insights, I'd love to hear about it. The moon could be off too, of course, because the time is off. But the thing is, one of the things, and I don't know if anybody's brief astrology lesson, but I've always heard, you know, death is always a good thing because you always need a Jupiter aspect to go out. And in his case, it totally was true. Jupiter was transiting his node, so talk about fated, right? Jupiter is his north node, is 13 Leo, and Neptune is on his natal Jupiter. So there was two big Jupiter things going on in his chart. But I just wanted to throw his chart up here. This is one of the strongest loves of this life. I mean, he had some issues. He had battled with alcohol. That's the reason that we weren't together. But I still loved him, and we were still the best of friends. And I just talked to him a couple weeks ago, and, you know, he was such a musical phenom. I mean, I never knew anybody who had that much musical talent, you know, innately ever in my life. And the last time I talked to him, I attached a stethoscope to his acoustic guitar, so I was playing around with that, and so he was always, like, you know, doing all these inventive things, just a natural talent. And I'm gonna miss him a lot. But if anybody wants to take a look at this chart or has any insights, you know, I'd be love to hear about what you feel about it, because I know nothing. The only thing I know is he's gone. And I've got nothing psychically, so I'm just kind of been pretty messed up about the whole thing. But anyways, as to my regular spiel I have to go through, of course, you know, if you want to find out more about me, you go to my home page over here. It has all my stuff, and you go home, videos, playlists, channels, discussions about everything's in here. And it takes you to the prints, will take you to Find Out America, the astrology mandalas, and the order page on Tapestry of Life mandalas has everything. I should zoom out, you probably can't see it that well. There we go. It's got everything. It's got the mandalas. I have to start trying to pronounce it that way. I don't know why I pronounce it mandalas. Just always did. But the Beast Mistress Animical Oracle cards are out. Takes you to there. And all the stuff about getting a reading is here. Different readings, the charts, and at the very bottom, make a donation, which is always appreciated. Okay, so this is Vicky Verley signing out. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.